Are you thinking about making a podcast? If you are, I know you want to be able to make that podcast in a way that's easy and not complicated. And you want to be able to make that podcast in a way that it's not going to cost you an arm or a leg. Well, I have a solution for you. It's called Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast. Here's what you need to do. Download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's anchor.fm to get started. Start your podcast today. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Currently On podcast. It is Tuesday, July the 14th, 2020. It is currently 9:13 a.m. Central Time. I'm laughing because we're live on the air via Mixler, and I wasn't prepared to go live on the air. I was getting everything set up, and I accidentally hit the big red start button. And the next thing you know, I'm like, wait, stop. But it's too late. We're live on the air. Welcome. This is the Currently On podcast. This is the podcast dedicated to, let me see if you can guess. Yes, it's dedicated to what is on. We talk about music. We talk about movies. We talk about TV shows. We talk about sports. We talk about professional wrestling. We talk about podcasts. We talk about technology. Basically, if it's happening, if it's on, we talk about it right here on the Currently On podcast. This is really technically episode number 4. So we're really at the ground level of this podcast. We did 3 podcasts via the Anchor platform, but I prefer live. I prefer to be live. I hate recording a podcast. And here's the reason why. When you record a podcast, you may know this, you may not understand this. If you're just standing in the room recording, in my mind, I know I'm recording. So what I do is I say something and my mind starts thinking about what I just said. And I start going, well, I could have said that a little better. I didn't like that. So let me stop and start over. Let me stop and start over. So what happens is it doesn't come across natural because my mind is not thinking about what I need to say next. It's thinking about what I just said. So it doesn't really flow. And then it leads to me stopping, deleting, starting over, which just becomes, well, no fun. But when I'm live on the air, my mind can't worry about what I just said. All I can worry about is what I'm going to say next because there's no safety nets. I'm live. I like that feeling. So I wanted to set up a way to do the Currently On podcast in a live format that can also be recorded, and then that recording be uploaded to the Anchor podcast platform. So that's kind of the goal. That's what we're trying to do here. Hopefully this will work. We will see. When you first start a podcast, I mean, you have a lot of growing pains, right? You have you're trying this, you're trying that. And those first few episodes, I mean, your chances of anyone tuning in to your first few episodes are not very good because, obviously nobody even knows the podcast exists. So for, maybe for a month, 2 months, you're really kind of just speaking into the air. You're kind of basically you're talking to yourself and you're hoping at some point someone joins into the conversation. So that's what we're doing this morning. This is the Currently On podcast, episode number 4. And today let's talk about technology. Specifically, let's talk about iOS 14. All right. The update to the operating system for all Apple devices, for the iPhone, iPad. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about Apple Music, which is one of my favorite subjects. Yes, I have been a fan, a supporter of Apple Music literally since day one. And here is the reason why. There is one reason I'm such a fan of Apple Music. Beats One. Beats One is their live radio station. And I think that for all streaming services, for all music streaming services, they should have a live radio station. And here's the reason why. In 2020, there is so much music available. It's like if you open up a streaming service, it's like literally being taken on an airplane, thrown out of the airplane, you're over the ocean and you find yourself in the middle of the ocean and you're going to drown. There's just so much available. Where do you even begin? Now, obviously, I'm a little older, so this illustration may not work. Some of you may not be able to understand it, but there was a day that, if you wanted music, you had to go to a music store and you would walk into that music. And yes, there was music everywhere. I mean, there were CD, depending on what, the year it was, there were vinyl, there was CDs, there was cassettes, whatever. And there was a lot there and it always felt overwhelming. But on one hand, it wasn't too overwhelming. And the reason it wasn't too overwhelming is because you knew you had a limited amount of money in your pocket. So basically you had to just either bought what you knew, you bought what looked cool with an album cover, or you bought what was playing in the store because, oh, that sounds really good. You bought what you heard on the radio. You were limited in what you were exposed to. So your choices of buying were usually pretty limited. Now, what I always did is at least once a month, I would just walk into the record store, pick something I'd never heard before, something I'd never seen before, and just buy it. Sometimes I went home and was like, what in the heck did I just buy? Sometimes like, whoa, I just discovered a buried treasure and I'm not going to let anyone know about it. All right. But you still had some kind of a limit. Now you open up a streaming service. There's so much available. The largest record store can't even compare to what is available to you. And where do you start? Where look, you just kind of go like maybe, like you may go to playlist. You just may kind of just shuffle through. You may look at the suggestions that the streaming service throws at you. If you tune into a radio station, like on Beats One, here's what's great. You tune into Beats One on Apple Music. And they have all kinds of different shows with different hosts. A lot of the emphasis on those shows is new music discovery. Hey, this song just dropped. Hey, this album you should check out. And here's what's awesome when you're listening to Beats One on Apple Music. This is what's awesome. While the song is playing via the Beats One radio station, you can easily just tap on the screen and save the song that is playing to your library. You can add it to a playlist. So you're discovering music and you literally with the tap on your screen can save that music to your library for later. And then those shows have playlists. So if you hear it, you can go to those playlists and then get the songs that way. Beats One is amazing for music discovery. I will tune into Beats One and man, there's so much. So Beats One is why I love Apple Music. Beats One makes Apple Music the best streaming service available, hands down. And if anyone argues with me, either one, you're old and you don't care about new music, or two, you're just not a music fan, because if you're a music fan, you want to discover new music, and Beats One is the way to do so. Live radio with, DJs talking about, I know this is going to be a shock, music. Oh, what? You mean they're not going to be two or three of them just sitting around, a table with some microphones, talking about entertainment news and trying to be funny? No, they're literally talking about music, interviewing artists, talking about new albums coming out, world premiering new singles that are being dropped. It is amazing. So Beats One, I know this sounds like a commercial for Apple Music, but Beats One is why I love Apple Music. However, every year, obviously, we all know, everyone who knows anything about technology understands that usually somewhere in the summer, Apple will come out and say, hey, we're updating our operating system. And this year it's iOS 14. And then what they do is they make that update available as a beta for beta users. There's a public beta and there's a developmental beta. Well, I'm always signed up for the public beta. So man, iOS 14 dropped. I downloaded it. And guess what I cared about? I didn't care about any of the other features. I don't even care. All I wanted to know is, did they do anything different with Apple Music? That's what I wanted to know. So I'm going to share some of the things they did with Apple Music and iOS 14. I think these updates are really good. So I'm opening up Apple Music right now in iOS 14. And you'll notice as soon as it opens, there are some definite changes if you're used to using Apple Music. It immediately opens to the Listen Now page. That's what it immediately opens to. It opens up to the Listen Now page. Now, what you're going to get at the very top, all right, so Listen Now, over on the right-hand corner is going to be your, the image you've used for your profile, all right? For me, it's a turntable with an LP playing because, well, I love music and I love turntables, okay? So here we go. So it says Listen Now, and then underneath it, Top Picks. So the first top pick for right now is the Sun-Kissed Apple Music playlist, which is kind of a summer electronic dance music playlist. And I've been listening to it a lot. So it says Top Picks, Heavy Rotation. That's in my heavy rotation. So they threw it back up here saying, hey, you may want to listen to this. Then they have a Made for You. All right, a Made for You. This is a station that pulls in music that they think you'll like. You can hit that and it'll start playing. Next, they have recently updated. My favorites mix has been recently updated. And then they throw out another playlist. So the first thing that shows up when you open up Apple Music in iOS 14 is Listen Now. And the first thing they have at the top are Top Picks, and they give you, sometimes they'll suggest an album, sometimes they suggest a playlist, and then they'll give you a station for you where they pull in music they think you'll like. All you have to do is start it and it starts playing. So that's a major change in the way it was set up. Underneath that, they have stations for you. What they do is artists you've been listening to, they create a station and they make it right there for you. So I have Hotel Lux because I've been listening to them. Bare Hands because I've been listening to them. Wild Nothing, I've been listening to them. Dream Wife, I've been listening to them. All Time Low, I'm not necessarily an All Time Low fan, but their new album is, some are saying, is one of the best albums of 2020. So they created a station for me. Andy Gibb, because I was taking a deep dive back into the 70s, and one of Andy Gibb's albums that I absolutely love, I started listening to it. So they created a station. Juice WRLD, they created a station because I've been listening to the latest album from Juice WRLD. And then Haim, and then Mr. Ben and the Bens. So those are all stations they created, and they created them based off music I've been listening to. So there you go. Again, this is all under the Listen Now section of Apple Music and iOS 14. Underneath that, they have recently played. They show you the albums and the playlists you've been playing. And I've got the album Heavy Nights by Evening Hymns. What a great album. A great late night album. You should definitely listen to it. That's Heavy Nights by Evening Hymns. I have one of my summer, during the summer, I create a playlist every week. So it's Summer 2020, week 1, Summer 2020, week 2. And these are the songs that I think you need to know about for the summer of 2020. I pull in some old stuff. I also add a lot of new stuff. So you can subscribe to my playlist on Apple Music. The Chill Mix. Today's country. I haven't really been keeping up with country music in the summer of 2020. So I did a deep dive the other night, listening to all the top country songs of 2020. Found a couple that I really enjoyed. And then I've really been listening to Barstool Preaching by Hotel Lux. It's kind of a punk vibe. I think it was released in January of 2020. And I've really been digging into it. What I was doing, I was listening to my Music Radar playlist from January of 2020. And at that point, Hotel Lux had only released one track, I think, for what would become the Barstool Preaching EP. I think it's an EP. And man, I'm really digging it. They have my new music mix. Then I've recently played Juice WRLD's new album. Also, I've been playing Rose City Band, their album Summerlong, which is getting a lot of buzz. So recently played, it's got everything. And it's got things shows I was listening to on Beats One listed under recently played as well. So when you open up Apple Music and iOS 14, the first thing you're going to see is a page called Listen Now. Top picks, stations for you, recently played, made for you. Now here are the playlists that are given to every Apple Music user. There is a favorites mix, a get up mix, a chill mix, a new music mix, and a friends mix. And these playlists are updated weekly, and it's a great way to discover music. That's made for you. Then they have an alternative section here. I think they have an alternative section here because I've been listening to a lot of alternative albums, and they've got new and older stuff. I mean, they got Doolittle by the Pixies listed here. So, I mean, obviously that's a classic album. A little kind of too on the nose right there, maybe. I mean, come on, dig a little deeper. But okay, then they got friends are listening to, showing me what all my friends are listening to. Then they have, based on summer 2020 week 5, they took one of my playlists and based off what's in that playlist, they suggested some more albums, new releases. Then they have your replay playlist. So they have a 2020 replay list showing me all the things I've been listening to in 2020. And then they just have a lot of other stuff thrown in here to get to the bottom. That is how it shows up. When you open up, listen, this is very important. When you open up Apple Music and iOS 14, the page you're going to get is Listen Now. Now, here's the thing to realize. There are no tabs at the bottom of this screen. There's no tabs at the top of this screen at the bottom of the screen like there used to be. At the very top left-hand corner, you'll see something that says Music. You tap on that. That opens up a side menu now that gives you the following. Listen Now, which is where we just were. Browse. Radio. There's your Beats One and all the other Apple Music stations. Search. Library, which has your recently added files, artist, album, songs, TV, and movies. And then Playlist. All of that now is a sidebar. Again, when you open up Apple Music and iOS 14, it just says Listen Now, and it goes through all those categories that we talked about a few minutes ago. Up at the top left-hand corners, it says Music. You tap on that, that opens up the sidebar. That brings up the following choices: Listen Now, Browse, Radio, Search, Library. This will have your recently added content. They have it separated by artist, albums or songs or TV and movies, and then all of your playlist. That is how it's completely different than the way it looked prior to iOS 14. But here is the feature I absolutely love the most in Apple Music and iOS 14. Let me pick. I'm going to go to Evening Hymns, their album Heavy Nights. All right, here it is. I'm going to start the song. Okay. I'm going to lower the volume because I don't want to get sued for copyright infringement. All right. Here we go. This is what I absolutely love. Now, the album cover, the album artwork is displayed basically in a full screen view. No longer that little image that would be over kind of on the right hand side like it used to be in Apple Music. If you're using Apple Music right now and you are not using the beta of iOS 14, you know what I'm talking about. It was just a little box. Now our album artwork opens up into a full screen view. When I say full screen, it takes up most of the screen. Obviously, you have your player controls underneath the artwork, but it looks a whole lot better. I can actually see the artwork. And then here's what I really love. If I go down and tap the little in quotation box where that pulls up the lyrics are, they come up full page. They're not in that little box over to the right anymore. Basically full screen image of the album artwork and of the lyrics. I love that. That is great. It just makes it look 100 times better. Looks, I really like the way it looks. I really do. I think you will as well. Those are the major changes in Apple Music iOS 14. So let me review really quick. When you open up Apple Music in iOS 14 now, what you're going to see is the first thing you're going to see is the Listen Now page. Clearly, the emphasis here is pushing to the forefront music discovery. They want you to discover new things. Now, I prefer that they would be helping me discover albums, but what they've really kind of emphasized is trying to help me discover playlists, discover stations, more so than albums. That's the only thing I'm a little disappointed in. However, if I go over to browse, if I go to the browse tab, they do have new music, which is all albums. Yeah, it seems like a lot of the emphasis here is on playlist. Yeah, it seems like the idea here is a lot of playlist as well. So really, that's what we're kind of getting to. I mean, we knew it was coming. Apple Music really was kind of a little different than a lot because they really emphasized albums. They seem to push albums to the forefront more than they did playlist. But now with iOS 14 and the update, they seem to be pushing playlist, stations. Now, one thing I do love now in the browse section, they have it's called Beats One episodes. These are episodes that aired on Beats One, the live radio station that makes Apple Music better than all streaming services. So now they have a section here of Beats One episodes. Here are recent episodes that aired, and they're right there so I can listen to them on demand. So I think that's really good. Hopefully that increases people's exposure to Beats One, and they'll start tuning into it live on a more regular and consistent basis. So, yeah, they still have the coming soon section, which is very important to me because I can keep up with what albums are coming out. So we've got Smile by Katy Perry coming soon, Here on Earth by Tim McGraw coming soon. Ugh. Don't know if I'm really looking forward to that. Gaslighters by the Chicks. I think that's the Dixie Chicks, but they changed their names. I guess the Chicks. Let's see here. Ellie Goulding is coming out with a new album. Luke Bryan's coming out with a new album. T for the Tillerman, very famous album. I guess that's going to be redone. That'll be interesting to see how we like the new version. I may need to go listen to the old one. And so, yeah, they've got, hey, that's interesting. Kaylee Hammack is releasing an album. If It Wasn't For You, which Kaylee Hammack spells her last name Hammack, which is my last name. So I should get royalties there because she stole my name, or we're related and I don't even know it. That's interesting. Coming soon, Sign of the Times. Oh, they're going to do a super deluxe release of Sign of the Times by Prince with a 2020 remaster. Ooh. That's worrisome. You know what that typically means? If it's going to be remastered now, it's going to be brick-walled to death. They're going to push the volume levels to crazy proportions and lead to a compression of the dynamic range and distortion. I hate that. Maybe it's going to be a very good remaster. If you have the original copy of Sign of the Times by Prince, this is a good time to save it because those original ones will ultimately disappear and you're just going to end up with a remastered crap. You want to talk about a bad remaster? Listen to the remaster of Bad by Michael Jackson. Sounds like an utter piece of complete crap. It's just brick walled to death. If you can find original copy of the CD by Michael Jackson Bad, find the original copy. All the streaming services only have the remastered one. And if you look at the levels there, the remastered one is brick walled to death. It's a horrible example of it. So I'll be interested to see how this one sounds. I don't know when it's coming up, but it's in the coming soon section on Apple Music. So I love the coming soon section because I can just go through and see what's coming out, things to look for. And, there you have it. There's Apple Music and iOS 14. When you open it up now, it's just the Listen Now section. There are no tabs at the bottom. You have to go to the top left-hand corner to pull up the side menu of all the other areas that you're already familiar with. And the big thing is now when you play the album or you play anything, you can pull up the artwork basically in a kind of a full screen mode, and the lyrics are in a full screen mode, making it a much enjoyable experience from a visual perspective and a much more enjoyable experience as far as it goes in reading the actual lyrics. Beats One is still the thing that I love the most. They still have a section called radio. You tap on radio. This is on the side menu. And then here we go. Beats One on the air. Rebecca Judd is currently on the air from 8 to 10 a.m. And then I can go, here's the schedule for today. From 10 to 11 will be Charts with Brooke Reese. That's the top 20 songs on Apple Music. Then Zane Lowe will be on from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's the show you should listen to. I love that show. And then underneath that, you have Beats One host and Matt Wilkinson. Matt Wilkinson, his program aired this morning. And this morning, his show focused on post-punk essentials. Post-punk essentials. Definitely, I need to listen to that. So Beats One, I mean, you can listen to it live and you can listen to all the shows on demand. That's what makes Apple Music the best, is Beats One. So they still have a great section for Beats One with all the shows, the schedule. It's all right there. Definitely worth checking out. So if you have the ability to download the iOS 14 beta version, I would do it. It's not caused me any problems at all. It seems to be stable, seems to be perfectly fine to use. If not, you're going to wait. But once iOS 14 is available, I would strongly recommend getting it as soon as possible and looking at all the new features for Apple Music. Now, I do not know. Now, this will be interesting. I don't know when these changes to Apple Music will show up on the Android Apple Music app, the desktop app. I don't know. I don't have an Android device. I'm assuming they'll probably be available on those devices when iOS 14 goes public, and not just a public beta, but goes live for everyone. I'm assuming that's when the changes to Apple Music will show up on all the other devices. I think it's a major improvement visually for Apple Music for the iOS 14 changes. I think it looks better visually. Definitely makes it better in looking at the lyrics. Some people have always found, I've heard people complain that using Apple Music is difficult. I've never understood it. It seems very intuitive, very easy to use. The only thing now, people may go, wait, where are those tabs at the bottom? Just remember, top left-hand corner says music. Hit that, opens up the side menu, sidebar, and will give you all the same areas that you're used to navigating. And then when you hit play on anything, that album artwork will will open up for like a full screen view. And then when you tap on the little lyrics icon, it will pull up the lyrics, which will be in full screen view, which I think everyone will greatly appreciate and will benefit greatly from. So there you have it. That's what's currently on. That's currently on my iPad is Apple Music and iOS 14. iOS 14. It should be coming around September. If you can get the beta, use it now, download it now. It's easy to do. You can Google how to do it. But that's what's currently on this Tuesday, July the 14th, 2020 at 9:40 a.m. We'll be back probably throughout the day. Yesterday I watched the movie Scanners, did a little discussion about that. I may watch Scanners too. Scanners is available on HBO Max. I hate when streaming service, this is what I really, really, really hate. This is just a side note. I hate when streaming services will have, like Scanners 1, but then they don't have Scanners 2, Scanners 3. I think there was 3. Maybe that's it. But whatever the franchise is, whatever the series is, if your streaming service is going to have the first movie, then have all of them where your users can then do a little, a marathon or put and another thing streaming services should do, HBO Max, all of them, any streaming service, when you have a bunch of movies that all fit together, create basically a playlist of all those movies together and then place it somewhere so that some people can just click on it and then all the movies are available one after another and let them just autoplay one after the other in case someone wants to do a marathon. Instead of having to go look for all of them, just put them all together. I don't know why. That's an easy thing to do. Hey, here's Rocky 1. All right, boom. The streaming service should have all the Rocky movies and just put them right there in order where you can just go from one after another. Here are the Avengers movies. Here's the Marvel movies. Put them all together. Put them in the right order in one playlist. All streaming services should do that and make them all available. If you're going to get the rights to one, get the rights to all. I think that will make streaming services a whole lot better instead of having to go look. I watched Scanners last night, and I'm like, okay, where's Scanners 2? Not on HBO Max. Had to do a search on my Apple television. They pulled up Scanners 2. I have to either purchase it for $9.99 or rent it for $3.99. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't HBO Max just if they got Scanners, give me the sequel, right? So maybe we can create a protest movement. We're going to protest until you put all movies together in a playlist on streaming services that are easy to find. All right. If you do a search for one, it pulls up the playlist with all of them. Isn't that a good idea? I think that's a good idea. All right. So maybe we'll be talking about Scanners too. I don't know. Currently on, we talk about anything that's on. Oh, and remember, very important, this coming Sunday, even if you're not a professional wrestling fan, it should be an interesting pay-per-view. The WWE is holding their pay-per-view Extreme Rules Horror Show. That's kind of the subtitle of the pay-per-view. Now, remember, wrestling is in a weird situation right now because there's no live audience. And because there's no live audience, it's really added a weird way. In professional wrestling, it's storytelling. Remember, professional wrestling is basically just a live action movie with no second takes, no stuntmen. They have to do it all right there. But it's basically just a movie. It's telling a story. You got protagonist, antagonist. You got, just basic storytelling. But because they haven't had an audience, this has given the wrestling companies the ability to do these kind of like mini movies for their matches. Like the matches in some cases don't even happen in the ring. They happen like on a closed set and they create like a movie. So this has really been interesting. What is going to be cool about this coming Sunday at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, they supposedly are going to use CGI in their storytelling. They have this match called an eye for an eye match, and the only way you can win is by removing the eyeball of your opponent from its socket, ripping the eyeball from its socket. Now, clearly, they're going to have to use CGI. I don't know if it's going to be good CGI, bad CGI. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be the first time I think this has ever happened in a wrestling match. So that's called Extreme Rules. That will be available on the WWE Network, which is only $9.99 to subscribe. You can get it for a month. There are thousands and hours of documentaries. So even if you're not a wrestling fan, you're just looking for something to do this weekend, subscribe to the WWE Network, watch the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Even if you don't like it, it'll be just something different. I mean, I think people need to expand their horizons a little bit. Try things that are different. Try things you don't necessarily normally do. I mean, life is short. Try different things. And for $9.99 for a month, trust me, there'll be things on there you can watch. Watch the documentary on the Monday Night Wars that occurred in the 1990s. That's worth $9.99 right there. Right there, it's worth. There's plenty of good documentaries, even if you're not into all the wrestling matches that are available and all the pay-per-views that are available. But you should watch Extreme Rules just to see a wrestling pay-per-view that supposedly is going to use CGI. I'm very interested to see how that's going to work. It may be horrible. It may come across like a bad B movie, or, well, sometimes a B movie is sometimes really good, right? Sometimes bad B movies are actually, hidden treasures that everyone should experience, but that's a whole different topic. All right. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Currently On. We're still new. You're kind of getting an idea. We're going to talk about everything. So hopefully we will be talking about things that interest you. All right. Thanks for listening. Everyone have a great day. And hey, go watch something, go listen to something, go read something. Life is short.